The ship was massive. Sargent had seen many things in his 12 years of military service, but nothing like this. The royal vessel stretched across the void of space like a living mountain. Its dark hull was covered in patterns that glowed soft purple, and its shape reminded him of a giant beetle frozen in metal. Stood in the shuttle with 11 other human soldiers. They wore their formal uniforms, dark blue with silver buttons. Commander stood at the front, her face calm but her eyes sharp. She had briefed them 3 times already, but she spoke again as the shuttle approached the docking bay. "Remember why we are here," she said. "The war is over, the treaty is signed, but they do not trust us and we do not trust them. We are here to show them that humans keep their word. We guard, we watch, we do not start trouble." The soldiers nodded, said nothing. He rarely did. The shuttle landed with a soft sound. The doors opened and the smell hit them first. The ship smelled like old flowers and something sharp, like metal being cut. The air was thicker here, warmer than humans preferred. A group waited for them. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with bodies like insects. Their skin was hard and shiny, colored in shades of deep blue and black. They had 4 arms each, and their heads held large eyes that reflected light like mirrors. When they moved, their joints clicked softly. The lead stepped forward. He introduced himself as advisor, assistant to Elder Sola. His voice was strange, like 2 people speaking at once. "Welcome to the royal vessel," said. "Her Majesty Queen Vila permits your presence as agreed in the treaty. You will be assigned posts. You will not leave those posts without permission. You will not speak to the Queen unless spoken to. Is this understood?" Commander nodded. "Understood." His mirror eyes moved across the human soldiers. Felt those eyes pause on him just for a moment. He did not look away. They led them through long corridors. The walls were smooth and curved with no corners anywhere. Lights glowed from within the walls themselves. Others passed them, some in armor, some in flowing robes. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. Their antennae twitched. Their eyes reflected the strange pink creatures walking through their sacred ship. Kept his face empty. He had learned long ago that showing emotion was a weakness in places like this. They reached a large hall. Advisor stopped and turned. "You will be divided," he said. 6 of you will guard the diplomatic chamber where the meetings will happen. 4 will guard the human quarters. 1 will guard the entrance to the royal wing. 1 will be given the honor position. Raised an eyebrow. Honor position. Made a sound that might have been a laugh. Outside the Queen's private chambers, it is a ceremonial post. The Queen's own guards protect her. The honor position is for display only, a symbol that the treaty is real. In other words, thought it was a useless job, a joke. "Who do you want for this position?" asked. Looked at the soldiers again. His eyes stopped on. "That one, he is quiet, he will not cause trouble." Glanced at, something passed between them, a silent question. Gave a small nod. "Sergeant will take the position," said. The other soldiers were led away, followed alone through more corridors. They went deeper into the ship, past more guards, through doors that scanned them with blue light. Finally, they reached a wide hallway made of something that looked like white stone. At the end of the hallway stood 2 massive doors, covered in golden patterns. 2 guards stood on either side, their armor thick and their weapons visible. They looked at like he was an insect. Pointed to a spot on the floor, 10 feet from the doors. "You stand here," he said. "You do not move, you do not speak, you do not approach the doors. You are here to be seen, nothing more." Walked to the spot. He turned to face the corridor. He placed his hands behind his back and stood straight. Watched him for a moment. "Your people are strange," he said. "You live such short lives, yet you waste them standing in hallways." Did not answer, made that laughing sound again and walked away. The hours passed slowly, stood still. His training had taught him how to do this. In the military academy, they made soldiers stand for hours in the rain, in the heat, in the cold. They taught them that the body was a tool, and a tool did not complain. The guards watched him at first. Then they grew bored. They talked to each other in their clicking language. They rotated shifts every 6 hours. New guards came, looked at the human, and ignored him. Servants passed through the hallway. They carried food, clothing, items wrapped in silk. They all stared at, some slowed down just to look longer. He did not react. Night came, though only knew this because the lights in the walls grew dimmer. He was hungry. His legs ached. He did not move. Then the great doors opened. Queen Vila emerged. She was taller than the other, nearly 8 feet. Her carapace was pure black, polished like glass, and golden patterns were painted across her body. She wore no crown, but she did not need one. Everything about her said power. Her eyes were larger than the others, and they glowed with soft purple light. She walked past without looking at him. Her advisors followed, Elder Sola among them. The old moved slowly, her body bent with age, but her eyes were sharp. They passed like was invisible, like he was part of the wall. Only Elder Sola glanced at him, just for a second, then she was gone. The doors closed, remained. He thought about words on the shuttle. This was a test. They wanted to see if humans would abandon pointless duties. They wanted proof that humans were weak, that they would quit when things became boring or hard. Set his jaw, he would not quit, he would not move. If they wanted to see what a human could do, he would show them. The first day ended. Stood in the dim light of the alien ship, alone, watching the empty corridor. He did not know that his stand had only just begun. 40 hours had passed since took his position. He had not moved. The guards had changed 7 times. Each new pair looked at the human with confusion. He was still there, still standing, still watching the corridor with those strange, flat eyes. The guards began to talk about him, could not understand their clicking language, but he could read their bodies. They pointed at him. They made gestures of disbelief. One guard approached him during the 20th hour and waved a hand in front of his face. Did not blink. The guard stepped back quickly, as if he had touched something dangerous. The hunger in his stomach had become a distant thing. His body had learned to ignore it. His legs had stopped hurting around the 15th hour. Now they were just numb. He shifted his weight slightly every few hours, just enough to keep the blood flowing. No one noticed. His mind wandered, but only a little. He thought about home. He thought about the small apartment where he grew up, the smell of his mother's cooking, the sound of rain on the window. He thought about his first day in the military, when the instructor made him run until he vomited, then made him run more. Pain is temporary, the instructor had said. Quitting lasts forever. Had never quit anything in his life. On the second day, something changed. The servants who passed through the hallway began to slow down more. They whispered to each other. They pointed at the human who had not moved since yesterday. Word was spreading through the ship. Around the 30th hour, Elder Sola came. She walked slowly, using a staff made of something that looked like bone. Her carapace was gray with age, covered in tiny cracks, but her eyes were bright and curious. She stopped in front of. The guard straightened up, surprised by her presence. "Leave us," Sola said to them. Her voice was softer than the others, like dry leaves rubbing together. The guards hesitated. "Elder, we cannot leave the Queen's doors unguarded." "The human is guarding them," Sola said. "Go, I wish to speak with him alone." The guards looked at each other. Then they walked away, disappearing around a corner. They would stay close, but out of sight. Sola studied him. She walked in a slow circle around him, examining him like a scientist examining a strange animal. "You have not moved," she said. "In 30 hours you have not moved." Said nothing. He had been told not to speak. Sola stopped in front of him. "I give you permission to speak, human." Swallowed, his throat was dry. "Thank you, Elder." "Why do you not rest?" she asked. "Your kind needs sleep. I have studied your biology. 8 hours of every day your brains must shut down or you go mad. You must eat or your bodies consume themselves. You are fragile things. I was told to guard this door, said. Sola tilted her head. Her antennae moved slowly. The door does not need guarding. Our own soldiers protect the queen. You are here for show, for politics. You know this. Yes. Then why stay? Why suffer for nothing? Thought about the question. He could give a complex answer about duty, about honor, about proving humanity's worth. But Sola wanted the truth, and the truth was simple. Because I said I would, answered. Sola was quiet for a long moment. She studied his face, his posture, the dark circles forming under his eyes. Your people, she said slowly, are very strange. She turned and walked away without another word. The guards returned. They did not speak to, but they watched him differently now. The mockery was gone from their eyes. Something else had taken its place, something that looked almost like respect. The hours continued to pass. By the 40th hour, his body was screaming. Every muscle burned. His vision blurred at the edges. His heart beat in strange rhythms. A normal person would have collapsed long ago. But was not normal. He had been trained to endure. More than that, he had chosen to endure. His will was stronger than his body, and his body would obey. Servants brought food for the guards. The smell of it made stomach twist. He ignored it. A young servant stopped nearby, pretending to adjust something on the wall. She stared at openly. Is it true, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Can humans really go without sleep? Did not answer. He was not supposed to speak without permission. The servant hurried away, but heard her talking to others in the corridor. The whispers grew louder. The rumors spread faster. Humans do not sleep. Humans do not eat. Humans are made of stone. Humans feel no pain. None of it was true, felt everything. The pain, the hunger, the exhaustion. He felt it all. He simply refused to let it control him. That was the human way. Not to be free of weakness, but to keep moving despite it. The second day ended. The lights dimmed again. The ship grew quieter as the rest did. Remained. He thought about the queen. She had walked past him twice now, coming and going from her chambers. Both times she had not looked at him. He was nothing to her. A decoration. A symbol of a treaty she probably hated. But that was fine. Did not need her to see him. He did not need anyone to see him. He was here to do a job, and he would do it. His mother used to say something when he was a child. When he complained about chores or homework or the unfairness of life, she would smile and say, "The mountain does not care about the wind. It simply stands." Had become a mountain. Around the 45th hour, Elder Sola returned. This time, she did not send the guards away. She simply stood at a distance and watched him. Her eyes held questions she did not ask. Then she went to the great doors and entered the queen's chambers. Heard voices inside, soft clicking sounds, then silence. When the doors opened again, Queen Vila stood there. She looked at directly for the first time. Her purple eyes examined him the way one might examine an unusual insect. "Elder Sola tells me you have not moved," the queen said. Her voice was cold and smooth like ice. Straightened slightly, "Your Majesty." "Why?" "I was given a duty," said. "I will complete it." The queen stared at him for a long moment. Something flickered in her eyes. Curiosity, perhaps, or confusion. "Humans," she said quietly, "are very foolish." She turned and went back inside. The doors closed. But had seen it, just for a second before she turned away, something in her eyes that was not contempt. It was interest. The mountain did not care about the wind, but sometimes the wind began to wonder about the mountain. Settled back into stillness. He had a long way to go. The third day brought changes that felt before he saw them. The air on the ship was different. The servants moved faster, their eyes darting to corners and doorways. The guards changed their patterns. Small things, barely noticeable, but had spent 50 hours watching this corridor. He knew its rhythm like he knew his own heartbeat. Something was wrong. It started with the guards. Normally, they stood at attention, facing outward. But now, some of them faced inward, toward the Queen's doors. Their hands rested on their weapons in a way that seemed too ready, too eager. Then came the servants. They carried bundles wrapped in dark cloth, things that did not look like food or clothing. They walked quickly, avoiding eye contact with anyone. When they passed the guards did not stop them, did not even check what they carried. His tired mind began to work. He was exhausted, yes. His body was failing him slowly. But his training had not failed. He had been taught to see patterns, to notice things that others missed. He noticed. Around the 60th hour, a group came down the corridor. They wore fine robes and carried themselves with the pride of nobles. At their center walked a tall male with a carapace of deep red, almost black. His eyes were sharp and cruel, and golden rings decorated his forearms. The guards bowed low, too low. "Prince," one of them said, "we are honored." The prince had heard the name mentioned in the briefings, was the Queen's nephew, son of her dead brother. He was ambitious, Commander had said, dangerous. Walked past the guards without acknowledging them. His eyes found and he stopped. "So this is the human," said. His voice was smooth like poison mixed with honey. "Still standing, I see. The servants speak of nothing else." Met his gaze but said nothing. Smiled, at least his mouth moved in a way that might have been a smile. "They say you have not moved in 3 days. They say you do not eat or sleep. They say you are some kind of machine." He stepped closer too. His guards followed, spreading out behind him, counted them. 6. Their hands were on their weapons. "But I know better," continued. "You are just meat, soft, weak human meat. You will fall eventually. Everything falls." He turned and walked toward the Queen's doors. The guards opened them for him. His own soldiers stayed outside, positioning themselves around the corridor. Watch them carefully. They did not stand like escorts. They stood like a wall. Inside the chambers could hear voices. Smooth tone and another voice, sharper, colder. The Queen. The conversation lasted an hour. Could not understand the words, but he could hear the tension. The Queen's voice rose several times. Remained calm, controlled. When the doors opened again, emerged with the same cruel smile. He glanced at as he passed. "Enjoy your standing, human," he said. "It will not matter soon." He walked away with his guards. The regular guards returned to their positions, but saw them exchange looks with soldiers, quick looks, knowing looks. They were in on it, whatever it was. Needed to warn someone, but he could not leave his post. He could not speak without permission. The Queen's guards were compromised and there were no other humans nearby. He had only one option. Every human soldier had been given a small communication device, hidden inside their uniform collar. It was for emergencies only, and it could only send short coded messages. Had memorized the codes during training, never thinking he would use them. Moving only his fingers, keeping his arms behind his back, he pressed the tiny button 3 times in a specific pattern. Then he entered the code. "Serpent at the gate." The message would reach Commander within minutes. She would understand. Serpent meant betrayal from inside. Gate meant the royal chambers, would know what to do. The hours passed. Watched the corridor with new eyes. He counted every guard, memorized every face. He noted which ones looked at soldiers with respect and which ones looked away in fear. He tracked the servants with their strange bundles. He built a map in his mind. 12 guards were loyal to, maybe more. The servants were being used to move weapons. The attack would come soon, probably at night when the ship was quiet. Around the 70th hour, Elder Sola came to visit the Queen. She walked slowly, her staff clicking against the floor. When she passed, she paused. "You are still here," she said. There was something different in her voice now, not curiosity, concern. Yes, Elder. Sola looked at him for a long moment. Her antennae twitched. You see things, human, I can tell. Your eyes are not empty like they pretend to be. Said nothing. Be careful, Sola whispered. There are those on this ship who would not mourn if the Queen fell, and they would certainly not mourn for you. She went inside, the doors closed. His heart beat faster, Sola knew, or at least she suspected, but she was old and weak. What could she do against and his soldiers? Night fell again, the lights dimmed, the ship grew quiet. Commander's response came through his earpiece, so soft only he could hear it. Message received, assets moving, hold position, trust no one. Hold position, as if he would do anything else. Settled into the long wait, he knew the attack was coming. He did not know when or how, but he knew it would come to this corridor, to these doors. The Queen's guards watched him with their mirror eyes. Some of them were traitors, some were not, could not tell which was which. It did not matter. When the time came, he would face them all. His body was broken. 3 days without food or sleep had pushed him beyond normal human limits. His muscles trembled with exhaustion. His vision blurred and cleared in waves. His mind floated in a gray haze. But beneath all of that, something else remained. Something hard and cold and unbreakable. Will. The mountain did not care about the wind, and it did not care about snakes that crawled in the shadows either. Let them come, thought, let them all come. He would be here when they did. The attack came at the 80-hour mark. Felt it before he heard it, a vibration through the floor, deep and wrong. Then the lights flickered. Emergency signals flashed red along the walls, then went dark. The ship's communication system crackled and died. Someone had cut the power to this section. The 2 guards at the Queen's doors exchanged looks. One of them smiled. It begins, he said. They turned toward the doors, raising their weapons, understood instantly. They were going to kill the Queen. They were part of his plan. Moved. His body screamed in protest. 80 hours of standing had turned his muscles to stone, but stone could still crush. He crossed the distance in 3 steps. The first guard turned, surprised. He had forgotten about the human. They all had. His fist connected with the soft joint between the guard's head and neck. They made a choking sound and fell. The second guard swung his blade but was already inside his reach. He grabbed the guard's arm, twisted, and felt the joint break. The guard screamed, silenced him with a blow to the head. 2 down, 2 seconds. Picked up one of their fallen blades. It was heavier than human weapons, designed for 4-armed warriors. He held it in both hands and faced the corridor. They came quickly. 12 assassins in dark armor, moving like shadows. They had expected to find the Queen's doors unguarded, or guarded only by their own people. They had not expected to find a human standing over 2 fallen, holding a blade slick with violet blood. The lead assassin stopped. His mirror eyes reflected its battered form. Human, he said, step aside. You are not our enemy. We have no quarrel with your kind. Said nothing. He shifted his weight, finding his balance. His legs shook. His arms burned, but his grip on the blade did not waver. Move, the assassin said, and you will live. Stay and you will die. This is not your fight. Thought about those words. Not your fight. The assassin was right in a way. They had treated humans like lesser beings since the first day of contact. The Queen had walked past him like he was invisible. Why should he die for people who did not respect him? But that was not how saw it. He had been given a duty. He had given his word. It did not matter if the Queen respected him. It did not matter if anyone respected him. His honor was his own. I was told to guard this door, said. The assassin tilted his head. Then you choose death. I choose duty. The assassins attacked. Had fought in the war. He knew their style. They were fast, faster than humans. Their 4 arms gave them options that 2 armed fighters could not match. They fought with blades in their upper hands and claws on their lower, creating a storm of edges. But had something they did not expect. He had nothing to lose. The first assassin lunged with two blades, did not try to block both. He blocked one and let the other cut into his shoulder. The pain was distant, unimportant, while the assassin was committed to his attack, drove his own blade through the gap in this armor. One down. The second assassin came from the side, spun too slow and took a slash across his ribs, but his blade found the assassin's throat. Two down. The corridor was narrow. That was his advantage. Only 2 or 3 assassins could engage him at once. He used the walls, the bodies of the fallen, anything to limit their numbers. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. His shoulder was numb. His side was on fire, but he kept moving. Block, strike, move, block, strike, move. The assassins grew cautious. They had expected to swat this human aside like an insect. Instead, 4 of their number lay dead on the floor. This creature was not fighting like a normal being. He did not retreat. He did not hesitate. He took wounds that should have dropped him and kept coming. "What is he?" one of them whispered. The lead assassin snarled. "He is one human. We are 8. Kill him." They rushed together, could not stop them all. A blade pierced his leg. Claws raked across his back. He fell to one knee. But as he fell, he pulled one of them down with him. His blade found the gap between helmet and armor. Another one dead. He rose again. His leg dragged. His left arm hung useless. Blood dripped from a dozen wounds, but he rose. The assassins stepped back. They had never seen anything like this. Warriors were brave, yes. Warriors could fight through pain. But this human had passed beyond pain. He had entered some other place, some realm of pure will where the body was just a tool to be used until it broke completely. "You will not pass," said. His voice was rough, broken, but it did not shake. The lead assassin stared at him. "You are dying, human." "Maybe," raised his blade, "but not yet and not before you." Inside the queen's chambers, Vila and Elder Sola heard the sounds of battle, the clashing of metal, the screams of the dying. Sola moved toward the hidden passage that would lead them to safety. "We must go, Your Majesty," she said. "The assassins will break through soon." But Vila did not move. She stood facing the doors, her purple eyes fixed on the sounds beyond. "One human," she said softly. "Against how many?" "It does not matter. He cannot hold them. We must flee." Vila turned to look at her old advisor. "My guards, my own people, have betrayed me. My nephew seeks my throne, and the only one fighting for me is a creature I have treated as less than a servant." Sola had no answer. "I will not run," Vila said, "not while he stands." Outside faced the remaining assassins. 7 left. His blade was chipped. His body was failing. He could feel his heartbeat growing irregular, his vision narrowing to a tunnel. But the door was behind him, and behind that door was the queen. "Come on," he said. The assassins did not come. They watched him with something new in their eyes, something that looked almost like fear. Then from down the corridor, more footsteps, reinforcements, 20 more warriors, fresh and armed, with Prince himself at their lead. Looked at the bodies on the floor. He looked at the human standing in a pool of mixed blood, violet and red. His cruel smile flickered. "Still standing," said. "I'm impressed, human, truly, but this ends now." Looked at the new force, 20 warriors. He could barely stand. He could barely see. There was no way to win this fight. But winning had never been the point. "Then come end it," said. "I am right here." He raised his broken blade and waited for death. Prince did not order an immediate attack. He stood at the end of the corridor, studying the human with cold fascination. "You have killed 5 of my assassins," said. "Warriors who trained their entire lives. You are bleeding from wounds that would kill any, and yet you stand." Said nothing. He was saving his breath. Every word cost energy he did not have. I will give you one final chance, continued. Step aside, I will let you live. More than that, I will honor you. When I am king, I will need warriors like you, loyal, fearless, willing to die for a cause. I am loyal, said, to my duty. Your duty is to guard a queen who sees you as an animal. She does not deserve your protection. That is not for me to decide. His eyes narrowed. You are a fool. Maybe, adjusted his grip on his blade, but I am a fool who keeps his word. Waved his hand, kill him. The warriors charged. What followed was not a battle. It was a siege. The corridor was narrow, built to be defensive. Only 3 warriors could engage at once, and the bodies of the fallen made the footing treacherous. Fought like a dying animal. There was no technique left, no careful form, just violence. He cut and stabbed and clawed at anything that came close. When his blade was knocked away, he grabbed a fallen weapon. When that weapon broke, he used his hands. They rotated their attackers. Fresh warriors replaced tired ones. They could afford to wait. The human could not last forever. But did not stop. Inside the chambers, Queen Vila pressed her ear to the door. She could hear the fighting, endless and brutal. Hours passed. The sounds continued. How is this possible? She whispered. How is he still alive? Elder Sola sat in a corner, her old body trembling. Humans, she said. I have studied them for decades. I thought I understood them, but this is beyond anything in my research. What are they? Vila asked. What are humans truly? Sola was quiet for a long moment. I think, she said slowly, they are what happens when a species evolves to never give up. They are not the strongest, they are not the fastest, but they do not stop, ever. They chased prey across continents until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They survived ice ages by refusing to die. They conquered their world not through power but through sheer, stubborn persistence. Vila turned back to the door, and we treated them as lesser beings. We made a mistake, Sola agreed. A terrible mistake. Outside fell to his knees again. A blade had found his stomach. The wound was deep. He pressed his hand against it, trying to hold his insides in. His vision was almost gone now, just shadows and light. But he heard them coming. More footsteps, more warriors. He forced himself up. His legs buckled. He caught himself against the wall. Blood smeared across the white stone. Fall, one of the warriors said. Just fall, end this. Laughed, it was a broken sound, wet with blood. You first. He lunged. The warrior dodged, but not fast enough. His broken blade found the gap in his armor. Another body hit the floor. Somewhere far away, Commander fought through the outer sections of the ship. Her team of human soldiers had linked up with loyalists, those who had refused to join rebellion. They fought through corridor after corridor, pushing toward the royal wing. Was with them her medical kit on her back. She monitored vital signs through the implant in his arm. The numbers made no sense. His heart rate was erratic. His blood pressure was critical. His body temperature was dropping. He should be dead, she said. These readings, no human can survive this. Is not just any human, replied. She fired her weapon, dropping a rebel soldier. He's the most stubborn person I've ever met. Stubborn doesn't explain this. This is impossible. Then it's impossible. Keep moving. Back in the corridor faced his 12th, or maybe his 15th. He had lost count. The floor was slick with blood. The walls were painted with it. Bodies lay everywhere, tangled together. He was dying, he knew it. His body was shutting down, one system at a time. His kidneys had failed hours ago. His liver was probably next. The wound in his stomach had stopped bleeding, but only because he had no blood left to bleed. But the door was still behind him, and he was still standing. Prince watched from a safe distance. His cruel smile was long gone. His face was pale, his antennae flat against his head. 6 hours, he muttered. 6 hours against one human, this is impossible. His advisor, a thin named, stood beside him. My prince, perhaps we should wait. The human must fall eventually. I do not have eventually, snapped. Every hour we delay, the loyalists grow stronger. I need the queen dead now. Then send everyone at once. Overwhelm him. I have sent everyone. I have lost half my forces to that thing. Looked at the human, was barely recognizable now. He was more blood than man, a creature made of wounds and willpower. His eyes were empty, glazed, seeing nothing, but his hands still gripped his weapon. Perhaps, said quietly, we have underestimated humanity. We have underestimated nothing, snarled. He is one man, one dying man. I will kill him myself if I must. He drew his blade and strode forward. Saw him coming. The prince was tall, strong, fresh, was none of those things, but it did not matter. Prince said, his voice was barely a whisper, finally decided to fight your own battles. His face twisted with rage. I will cut you apart, human. I will make you beg for death. Many have tried, raised his blade, his arm shook, all of them are on the floor. Attacked with the fury of wounded pride, his four arms moved in a blur, blades and claws striking from every angle, blocked what he could and took the rest. A blade opened his cheek. Claws tore through his already ruined shoulder. A thrust pierced his side. But through it all kept moving, not forward, not backward, just moving, staying in the way, blocking the path to the door. Stepped back panting, violet blood dripped from his blades. Why won't you die? Smiled, his teeth were red with blood. Because you haven't killed me yet. He swung his blade one more time, dodged easily, but the movement forced him back, away from the door, away from the queen. And that was all that mattered. In the distance, new sounds, gunfire, human weapons, screams from soldiers. Commander was close. Heard it too, his eyes went wide with panic. No, not now, not when I'm so close. He turned to order his remaining troops to reinforce the rear. In that moment, just for 1 second, he forgot about the dying human behind him. That was a mistake. Put everything he had left into one final lunge. His blade found back, sliding between the plates of his armor. The prince screamed and fell. Collapsed beside him, he had nothing left, nothing at all. But the door was still unbreached. The queen was still alive. He had done his duty. The last thing heard before darkness took him was the sound of human voices, shouting his name. Commander burst through the final barrier with her rifle blazing. Behind her, human soldiers and loyalists poured into the corridor, weapons raised. They all stopped when they saw what was waiting for them. The white stone hallway had become a graveyard. Bodies lay everywhere, piled on top of each other. The floor was covered in blood, both violet and red, mixed together into something dark and terrible. The walls were smeared with handprints where the dying had tried to hold themselves up. And in the center of it all, at the base of the queen's doors, lay. He was on his back, his ruined body still. One hand still gripped a broken blade. The other lay across his stomach, covering a wound that could not bear to look at. Around him, a circle of fallen marked his final stand. At least 15 bodies within arm's reach. Prince lay beside him, still alive but barely. The wound in his back had taken him out of the fight but not out of life. Looked up at the humans with hatred and disbelief in his eyes. Impossible, whispered. One human destroyed everything. Walked past him without a word. She knelt beside and pressed her fingers to his neck. For one terrible moment she felt nothing. Then faint as a whisper, a pulse. She shouted, "Get over here, he's alive." Pushed through the crowd, her medical kit already open. She dropped to her knees beside and began working. Her hands moved fast, but her face was pale. "I need plasma," she said. "Bandages, everything you have, move." Soldiers scrambled to obey. Cut away what was left of his uniform, revealing the damage beneath. She had seen combat wounds before. She had treated soldiers who had stepped on mines, who had been shot and stabbed and burned. She had never seen anything like this. "He has at least 20 major wounds," she said, her voice shaking. "Several organs are damaged. He's lost more blood than a human body contains. I don't understand how his heart is still beating." "Can you save him?" asked. Looked up at her commander. Tears were forming in her eyes. "I don't know. I don't even know how he's still alive. This is beyond medicine. This is beyond everything." The Queen's doors opened. Vila stepped out, followed by Elder Sola. The Queen looked at the carnage with wide eyes. She had heard the battle. She had imagined it, but the reality was worse than anything she could have imagined. "This," she said softly, "one human did all of this." Commander stood and faced the Queen. Her face was hard, her eyes cold. "Yes, Your Majesty, one human, Sergeant of the Earth Defense Force. He held this corridor for over 6 hours against your nephew's entire assassination force. He killed or wounded at least 20 of them, including Prince himself. He did this while suffering wounds that would have killed any other being in the first hour." Vila walked slowly through the bodies. She stopped beside, looking down at his broken form. "Why?" she asked. "I gave him nothing. I showed him no respect. I walked past him like he was furniture. Why would he die for me?" His jaw tightened. "Because you were his duty. Because he gave his word. That's what humans do, Your Majesty. We keep our promises even when it costs us everything." Vila knelt beside. Her elegant robes touched the blood on the floor, staining the fine fabric. She did not seem to notice. "I have ruled for 200 years, she said. "I have seen courage, I have seen loyalty, but I have never seen anything like this." She looked up at, "Will he live?" "We don't know," admitted. "Our medic says it's impossible that he's alive at all." Vila turned to Elder Sola. "Bring our physicians, the best we have. I want every resource dedicated to saving this human." Sola bowed. "At once, Your Majesty." She hurried away, moving faster than her old body should have allowed. Within minutes, medical teams arrived. They worked alongside, combining human and medicine. Hours passed. Was moved to a medical bay, surrounded by machines and monitors. The physicians had never treated a human before. They marveled at his biology, at the redundant systems and backup organs that humans had evolved over millions of years. "His species is built for damage," one physician said. "They have backup systems for their backup systems. They can lose half their blood and keep fighting. They can survive injuries that would kill any instantly." "But there are limits," said. "He passed those limits hours ago." "Yes," the physician looked at still form, "yet his heart beats, his brain functions, something is keeping him alive." "Stubbornness," whispered. "He's too stubborn to die." The physician did not understand, but he nodded anyway. In the royal throne room, Queen Vila held council. Prince was in custody, along with the surviving rebels. The coup had failed, but the damage was done. Trust in the royal guard was shattered. The ship systems were damaged, and the treaty with humanity hung by a thread. "What do we do?" advisor asked. He had surrendered the moment fell, hopping for mercy. "The humans will be furious. We invited them as guests and nearly got their soldier killed." "Not nearly," Vila said. "That soldier may still die, and if he does, the humans will have every right to declare the treaty void. Then we must prepare for war again." "No," Vila's voice was firm. "I will not let that happen. This treaty cost us millions of lives to achieve. I will not throw it away because of my nephew's ambition." "Then what do you propose?" Vila was silent for a long moment. She thought about the human standing at her door. She thought about his empty eyes and still posture. She thought about how she had walked past him without a glance, treating him as less than nothing. And then she thought about what he had done when the time came. How he had fought and bled and died for her, not because she deserved it, but because he had said he would. "I propose," Vila said slowly, "that we reconsider our view of humanity." The council murmured. This was unexpected. We have called them lesser beings, Vila continued. We have mocked their short lives and soft bodies. We have treated them as animals barely worthy of notice. And yet when everything fell apart, it was a human who stood between me and death. Not my guards, not my advisors, a human, one human. She stood, her tall form commanding attention. I was wrong about them. We were all wrong. Humanity is not weak. They are the most terrifying species we have ever encountered, because they do not stop. They do not surrender. They fight until their hearts stop, and then they fight some more. She looked at each council member in turn. We will honor this human. We will honor all humans. And we will make sure that every being in the Dominion knows what happened here. Let them understand what humanity truly is. The council was silent. No one dared to disagree. In the medical bay, surrounded by machines and alien doctors, his heart continued to beat. Slow, weak, but steady. He was not ready to die. Not yet. Not when his duty was still unfinished. The mountain did not fall. The mountain endured, opened his eyes to white light. For a moment he thought he was dead. The light was so bright, so clean. It reminded him of stories his grandmother used to tell about the afterlife, a place of peace where the weary could finally rest. Then the pain hit him, and he knew he was alive. Only the living could hurt this much. He tried to move, but his body refused. He was lying on something soft, covered in bandages and tubes. Machines beeped around him, displaying numbers he did not understand. A face appeared above him, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "You're awake," she said, her voice cracked. "You're actually awake." Tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. Helped him drink some water. It was the most wonderful thing he had ever tasted. How long, he managed. 3 days since the fight. You died twice on the operating table. Your heart stopped and we had to restart it. She shook her head. The doctors said it was impossible. They said no human could survive what you went through. Closed his eyes. 3 days. It felt like 3 minutes. "The Queen," he said, "is she safe?" Smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. "She's safe, is in custody. The coup failed. You saved her. You saved everyone." Let out a long breath. His duty was complete. He could rest now. But was not finished. "There's something else. The Queen wants to see you." "The Queen?" "She's been asking about you every day. She wanted to know the moment you woke up." Paused. "She's different now. Something changed in her. I think you changed her." Did not understand, but he was too tired to ask questions. He closed his eyes and slept. 2 days later he was strong enough to walk. Barely. Protested, the doctors protested, even Commander protested. But when a messenger came from the Queen requesting his presence, rose from his bed. "You can't walk to the throne room," said. "You'll collapse before you get there." "Then I'll crawl," replied. He did not crawl, he walked. Slowly, painfully, with every step sending fire through his wounds. But he walked. The corridors of the ship were different now. Before, they had ignored him or looked at him with contempt. Now they stopped and stared. Servants bowed their heads. Guards saluted. Whispers followed him like shadows. "That's him. The human who held the door. 103 hours without rest. He killed 20 warriors alone. Ignored them all. He focused on putting one foot in front of the other. The throne room was ahead. The Queen was waiting. Commander met him at the entrance. She looked at him with something in her eyes that had never seen before. Pride. Deep, profound pride. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "You can barely stand." "I'm sure. The whole Dominion is watching. They've heard stories about what you did. You're famous now." Shook his head. "I just did my job." Smiled. "That's what makes you different from everyone else. You actually mean that." The great doors opened and stepped into the throne room. It was massive. The ceiling rose hundreds of feet above, decorated with golden patterns that caught the light. Great columns lined the walls, each one carved with scenes from history. At the far end, on a throne made of black crystal, sat Queen Vila. But she was not alone. The room was filled with thousands of nobles in fine robes, warriors in polished armor, servants in simple clothes. They packed every corner, every balcony, every available space, and they were all completely silent. The silence was absolute, 10,000 beings and not one sound. No whispers, no movement, no breathing, just silence. Walked forward, his legs screamed with every step, his vision blurred. His heart pounded irregularly, but he did not stop. The walk to the throne took forever, felt every eye on him, every stare. He saw his reflection in thousands of mirror eyes, a battered human wrapped in bandages, barely able to stand, weak, fragile, mortal. And yet the looked at him with something that was not contempt, something that was not mockery, something closer to awe. He reached the throne and stopped. He tried to kneel, but his body would not cooperate. He settled for a bow instead. Queen Vila rose from her throne. This was unprecedented. A queen did not rise for anyone. The crowd shifted, murmurs threatening to break the silence. Vila silenced them with a look. She descended the steps, one step at a time, until she stood before, her tall form towering over his broken body. 103 hours, she said. Her voice carried through the silent hall. That is how long you stood at my door. My own guards could not have lasted 10. My ancestors would not have believed such a thing possible. Said nothing. He did not trust his voice. You were given the honor position as an insult, Vila continued. A meaningless post for a meaningless creature. That is what we thought you were, what we thought all humans were. She paused. We were fools. She reached up to her own carapace. There above her heart was a golden sigil, a mark of the royal bloodline. It had been worn by her ancestors for thousands of years. It was the most sacred symbol of the Dominion. She removed it. The crowd gasped. This had never happened, not once in all of history. The sigil was not meant to be given away. I cannot give you lands, Vila said. You are not. I cannot give you titles, for you would not want them. But I can give you this, the highest honor my people know. She pressed the sigil against his chest, over his heart. It stuck there, bonded to him by some ancient technology. From this day forward, Vila announced, her voice ringing through the hall, no human shall ever be called lesser in the Dominion. You are not weak. You are not inferior. You are the race that does not stop, the race that does not surrender, the race that will stand against impossible odds and refuse to fall. She looked out with something in her eyes, gratitude, respect, and perhaps even fear. And you, Sergeant, shall be remembered for all time. You are the one who stood when no one else could, the one who held the line when all hope was lost, the one who showed us what humanity truly is. She stepped back. The hall remained silent. Then slowly one began to bow, then another, then another. Like a wave, the bowing spread through the hall, thousands of bowing to a single human. Stood there, surrounded by the silence, wearing the royal sigil on his chest. He thought about his grandmother's stories, about the afterlife where the weary could rest. He was not in the afterlife. He was in something stranger, a place where a simple soldier from Earth had become a legend, where a man who just wanted to do his job had changed the fate of 2 species. Commander watched from the entrance, tears streaming down her face, stood beside her, equally moved. He really did it, whispered. He changed everything. No, said, he just stood there, that's all he did. He just stood there and refused to move. She wiped her eyes. Sometimes that's enough, sometimes that's everything. In the throne room, the silence finally broke. They began to chant something. A single word, repeated over and over. Did not know the language, but he could guess the meaning. They were chanting his name. He looked at Queen Vila. She nodded once, a gesture of respect between equals. Straightened his back, ignoring the pain. He stood tall as his broken body would allow. He was a soldier, a guard, a human. And he had kept his word. The mountain did not fall. The mountain had become eternal. Silence had filled the hall. A single human had stood guard over the alien queen. And the galaxy would never forget.